my oldest goes off to Cornell University in a couple of weeks. Ivy League, $95,000 a year retail sticker price. We're not paying $95,000 a year, and you shouldn't either.
What's up, Seth? Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Justin. I am a big fan. I'm super excited to be here.
Well, it's an honor to have you on after, I've been on your show a couple of times and we, at the end of this last session that we had on your show, we started talking about some of the cool stuff you're up to in kind of the financial aid world, helping students. And I feel like this is such an applicable message for our audience. We have so many people that have kids, many of which are in college right now or about to go in college, or, in a handful of years will be college ready. So I am just curious, with all that you've done, you've got you got a big name podcast with the SharkPreneur, and then you've got a handful of other things you've done. How did you get into the world of financial aid and helping college students financially?
Sure. So the short version is I went to Syracuse University for undergrad a few decades ago, and I went for musical theater because at the time, at the age of 18, I wanted to be a Broadway star. That was my life goal, and my parents were nice enough to let me do it at Syracuse tuition prices.
That's nice.
Well, they said I had to have a backup plan, which I did. Syracuse had a top 25 business school. So first semester, Thanksgiving, day before Thanksgiving break, I'm packing my duffel bag to go home for the first time, and my dad calls. And he says, son, you can't stay there. And I said, I know, no one's going to be here over break. I'll be home my older brother's coming to pick me up. I'll be home in a couple hours. And he said, no, you can't stay at Syracuse.
Oh.
You have to come home, go to SUNY Buffalo, live at home, get a job and work part-time. You have to help your mother around the house. You have to do chores. There's no loud music after 9 p.m. and there's no girls over, but I'll see you for Thanksgiving dinner. And he hung up on me.
Oh, my goodness.
I called my mother in tears going, Mom, I've only been here a couple months. I love it. What is Dad talking about? And she said, he got the tuition bill. He's freaking out, but, we'll see you soon and we'll figure it out. So I went home nervous, crying in the car to my brother, am I going to have to transfer? Is this the last time I'm going to see this school that I love? I don't understand.
Ooh.
And thankfully they figured it out. But every single semester, my dad got a tuition bill and would make the same phone call.
Oh, man.
And I stopped getting stressed out because I'm like, Dad's just freaking out. He's not actually going to pull me from school. So by the time I graduated, I did finish my theater degree, but I also decided to create a program that didn't exist at the time, which is the late 90s, in college financial aid. I said, there's got to be a better way to solve this problem. And I started one of the first and still top several college financial aid negotiation firms in the country.
And by the way, I never even knew this was a thing. I wish when I went to college, I knew this was a thing because for whatever reason, we just... my parents didn't make a lot of money, but we just missed financial aid every single time, and they couldn't afford school. I paid for my school, and luckily, I did very well while I was in college, but that was all money out of pocket, and it was a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Most people don't know it's a thing. We're trying to change that, obviously. And the marketing that propelled that firm to be a nationwide firm is what led to that SharkPreneur podcast that you've been on multiple times. But yeah, we're here today to talk about how we help parents cut the cost of college tuition, $37,070 per year per kid, and how they can do the same thing.
Yeah, that's your average savings.
Yes.
For your clients, which is unbelievable. Okay, so what is the most important number for college financial aid? What if there was one? If we had to boil it down to one thing, what is it?
Sure. So the most important number used to be called the EFC, the Expected Family Contribution. Thanks to a couple different law changes, it is now the Student Aid Index, or SAI. So if you hear it referred to EFC, SAI, it means the same thing. It's the number that the federal government thinks you can afford to pay for college. And it's always way more than you think you can afford to pay for college. And the reason why that number is so important is because it is gameable, depending on your situation. But for a lot of the folks who follow what you teach at the Lifestyle Investor, that number is gameable. And literally you can, through the use of the formula, make yourself qualify for more free money.
I love that. So before we get into how to do it right, what are the biggest mistakes that you consistently see applicants making?
So there's a lot. We have time to go into a few here. So number one is just accepting whatever offer the school gives you and thinking that's what I get. Thinking that negotiation is based on emotion, like when parents do try and negotiate, they call and it's mom stereotypically calling, going, my baby wants to go here. Please give my baby more money. And the financial aid officers are trained to deal with emotional parents. So they are trained to not just give you money because you're crying or you're upset. So that doesn't work. Just accepting the first offer is usually a big mistake. And parents don't look at what the schools will pay before they let their kid apply. So my oldest goes off to Cornell University in a couple of weeks in August from, whenever we're going to air this.
Another expensive school, mind you.
Yeah. Ivy League, $95,000 a year retail sticker price.
Wow.
We're not paying $95,000 a year, and you shouldn't either. So you got to look at the other most important number. We got to know what our EFC or SAI is. And then we got to know, let's take that retail sticker price for the school and then determine what percentage of your financial need does the school meet. So the formula is retail sticker price minus EFC or SAI equals financial need. What percentage of your gap will that school meet? Now, some schools say they meet 100% of it, and then that splits into gift aid, free money, and self-help, which is loans. They count loans as aid, which drives me crazy. But if they say they meet 100% of your need, but it's 50% loans, 50% free money, that's not really meeting 100% of your need. It's great for marketing, but it's not actually true.
Right.
Now, there are schools that will literally meet 100% of your need, and it might be 97% free money, 3% loans, which is a much better ratio. So when my daughter, she's 16 right now, she's heading into her junior year in September. She is busy making her wish list of schools. She just saw her brother go through this. So she's learned a whole lot of lessons watching him put a lot of his eggs in the Cornell basket. And now she's going, Dad, can you run numbers on this school? Can you run numbers on this school? And tell me, because she's trying to stay within what we said we would pay for. She's trying to avoid graduating with a whole ton of debt, which is very smart. So you got to know before the kid even starts going, ooh, I want to go there because they got a great sports team, right? Or I want to go there because it's a party school. Or I want to go there because they have my major. It's how much it's actually going to cost me out of pocket. Can I change that number? Am I eligible to manipulate that system to get any free money? And if you've got kids who are remotely considering grad school, you got to think about which matters more. So, for example, I had a kid who came in, heart stuck on NYU for undergrad. Got to go to NYU. And NYU, also very expensive and notoriously stingy when it comes to giving away money. I have tried my daughter, it's one of her dream schools, and I've slowly pushed her to consider other things because they are very stingy. And so I tell him how much it's going to cost. He's going to graduate with this much debt no matter what we do, blah, blah, blah. Ends up going to NYU. And then I find out later that he wants to go to law school. And I said, dear Lord, why did we blow our money on NYU for undergrad when what matters more, if you're going to be a lawyer, is where you went to law school?
That's right.
You could have gone to a much cheaper undergraduate education and then gone to a marquee law school that would help you get hired better.
Yeah, that's smart. By the way, is there a way to know, and maybe you have all this data and this is why people should work with you, but is there a way to know with the schools that fill that gap, what percentage is true grant money and what percentage is loaned money?
So we do have a data.
Situational?
Yeah. Well, yes and no. So what percentage they meet and what percentage of need met should be public information. Now, how that splits between grant and self-help money is also public, but it's not really, it's you got to do a lot of digging to find it. It's not just on the financial aid page of the website, of the college's website. So we've got a database of pretty much every school in the country and what those numbers are, so that when our clients start, like sophomore, junior year of high school, start thinking about college, we're informing those choices by, hey, that's great that that's your major and that school is number one in the country for your major, but they're not going to give you any money. Maybe number 2 or number 3 will be way more generous. Or we have parents who come in going, I went to a public state school. My kids go, I'm budgeted for that. That's where my kid's going. And we'll say, what if he could go to a private school for the same price or for less? And they're like, well, how is that possible? I'm like, well, those private schools have multi-billion-dollar endowment funds to give away.
Right.
If we look at that. Number one, I always want private schools on the application list because even if I'd never want to go, I could use that offer as leverage.
That's right.
And
Yeah,
now
that's
schools
smart.
will say we don't match offers, but if you say, listen, you're offering me X, this school is offering me Y, I know you don't match offers, but we really want to come to you and you do it right, magically they can find more money.
Yeah, no surprise there. It's the same thing I do with, getting multiple banks competing for loans, right? They say that they won't match. They say there's no competition, but the moment you bring them a legit offer, they will match or beat it. It's just the nature of the game. They don't want to lose the business, especially when you're this close, right? So you recently saved 2 clients from $1 million financial aid mistakes. I'd love for you to share a little bit about those stories.
Sure. So it's funny that they happened right around the same time. These were clients who said, hey, we appreciate that you gave us the analysis of what it's going to cost and told us whether you can move the needle or not. We're going to do it on our own. We're not going to spend the money to hire you in your firm, even though it looks like a fantastic ROI. We're just going to do it because we had another kid go through school and I'm confident I can fill out the forms. The other one was someone whose kid was already in school. Now, this is like a Hail Mary pass. We get 1 or 2 a year where the kid's already a freshman or sophomore in college and they're paying retail sticker price and they've already paid cash and it's anything. Usually their financial advisor refers them to us and goes, is there anything you can do? I know they already paid. And in both of these instances, they both made the exact same mistake. They made 2 different mistakes. One reported a retirement investment asset worth over $1 million on the financial aid forms, not knowing that certain types of it, not all, but certain types of retirement assets don't count. So we had to appeal to the school and say, shouldn't have reported that $1 million. I'm now worth $1 million less on paper. I now qualify for more free money.
Yeah.
The other family said, I'm looking at their financial aid forms that they already filled out, and I'm saying, where does this assets of $2 million whatever come from? And he says, oh, that's the value of my business. And I said, how did you come up with the valuation? And I said, he said, well, we had someone who was willing to buy it 6 months ago, and that was the offer they gave us. And I said, did the transaction close? Did they buy the business? And he said, no. Then it's not worth $2 million.
Right.
It's only worth it if someone actually wrote you a check. They didn't write you a check. That offer is not worth anything. We can now figure out the true value of the business, which is much less than $2 million, and save you a ton of money. So at that point in time, before the big, beautiful bill passed, you had to count the value of your small business against you. And the valuation was physical assets minus physical liabilities. So he didn't own the building he was in. There's office furniture, some computers, and the money in the bank. Minus what he owes, his business value was like millions of dollars less. So all of a sudden, he's worth less on paper and he gets more free money. Now, the great news is since the big, beautiful bill passed, regardless of whether you're pro or con the big, beautiful bill, we've got a report we're finishing now of 17 pages of college financial aid changes because of the big, beautiful bill. Wow. And the most important one was President Biden, a number of years ago, got rid of something called the small business exclusion, which used to be if you owned a small business or a farm with 100 or less employees, the value didn't count against you for financial aid because the government knew it wasn't a piggy bank. You can't just pull money out. Biden got rid of that. And every single one of us, politics aside, I'm not here to tell you who to vote for. I'm just telling you financial aid wise, when Biden closed that exclusion, all of our business value suddenly counted against us for financial aid and we looked way richer on paper.
Wow.
Thankfully, in the big, beautiful bill, they put that exclusion back. So the government came to their senses and we will now all save a whole bunch of money on college.
Yeah, it's the same thing as unrealized capital gains, right? It's like, how do you tax unrealized capital gains? Same thing here. You've got money tied up in a business that you have no interest in selling. Like that should not go against you. Are there other things from the big, beautiful bill that have had a positive impact for those going to college these days?
There's a lot. There's all kinds of changes to what loans you can take out, how much you can borrow, when they have to be repaid back, what the interest rates currently are. Yes, that's literally why we're on page 16 or 17, almost done with that report of all of the changes.
Wow, I'd love to see that. That sounds awesome. What a great piece to be able to bring to your customers.
Well, thank you. We are actually doing a training on all of the changes from the big, beautiful bill, how to make yourself qualify for more money on paper, and the 5 biggest admissions mistakes, that training that will be available for your folks. If you listen or watch the Lifestyle Investor podcast and you go to, when this airs, you go to howtofindmoneyforcollege.com/training, you can register and watch. It'll be about 90 minutes because it's a lot of content. We don't sell anything on it. It's purely educational, and your listeners can go check that out.
That's awesome. I love that. So what are some of the other things that people need to make sure they do correctly when doing this? Obviously, one of them is like have a top flight firm like yours represent them. But are there other things that they should just beware of or they should know ahead of time?
Absolutely. I mean, we could spend hours and hours as we're going to on that training going over all of that. I think something else that's really important is when you fill out the financial aid forms, if you do it yourself, the numbers have to match. And what I mean by that is if you're filling out the free application for federal student aid, the FAFSA, and your child is also applying to private or profile schools, they have to fill out a separate form called the CSS profile. You need to do them ideally at the same time or write down your answers so they're the same. We've had people who, we've seen who filled out the FAFSA, which you can submit October 1st of your child's senior year at 9 a.m. So do it at 9 a.m. Don't wait a couple months. Financial aid is first come, first served. You'll get more money if you do it first. It's like watching Justin Timberlake concert tickets disappear. But we've seen people who filled out the form this day, and then they filled out the CSS a couple weeks later. Well, the stock market moved.
Right.
And I know you tell people to be in more stable and more predictable investments than that. But if they've got a chunk of their assets in a stock market variable account or in money that fluctuates and they don't match and their answers change and they don't match, the system will think it's an error. It'll automatically reject it. It'll send it back to you to fix, and it'll put you at the bottom of the pile when you come back and you'll lose out on money. So either do them at the same time or write down your answers so they match.
That's good. That's really good. And what does it look like for those that want to hire your company, Seth? This sounds like a great idea. Sounds like you pay for yourselves many times over.
Absolutely. So thank you for the question. So the first step is to find out where you are, right? We got to start at the beginning. So we normally charge $197 for a college cost analysis where we crunch all the numbers. We go through all your statements, your tax returns, everything. And we tell you what you're looking at for your child's number 1, number 2 dream school if you change nothing. Then we tell you, can we help you move the needle? And if so, how much money can we save you? So because your folks came from the Lifestyle Investor, that $197 fee is waived. We'll do it for them for nothing.
Awesome.
It will cost nothing. They will find out. And if we cannot move the needle, we'll tell them. We'll say, hey, there's nothing we can do for you financial aid-wise. Do you want to have an admissions conversation about how to help your child position themselves to get in and get merit money? Because there's 2 types of financial aid. There's need-based, which is gameable. And then there's merit money based on SAT scores, extracurriculars, all the student stuff, which is subjective, right? How does the admissions committee feel about your kid that day? And how do they compare to all the other kids who applied? We just found out, this was the hardest year in 2025 was the hardest year for college admissions ever in history.
Wow.
Because there were more kids born in 2007. There was almost a baby boom during the recession.
Wow.
When the subprime bubble burst, there were more kids born that year who applied to top flight schools. Like, for example, my son Max at Cornell. Cornell broke every previous admissions record of kids applying this year.
Goodness.
So we will tell them if we can help them on the financial aid side and by how much. We'll tell them if we can't help them, but we can help them on the admission side. And then there's no pressure when we talk to anybody. It's just a question of, here's what it looks like to work with us in terms of, we'll do all the financial aid forms for you. We'll negotiate for you. We'll handle everything. You don't have to touch it. And then this is what it costs. Depends on the complexity of the case versus how much money we're going to save you.
Well, I wish you existed doing this when I went to school, because I have a feeling I would have saved a lot of money.
I wish I existed when I went to school. I could have saved my parents money.
Man, this is so good. Anything else you want to let our audience know before we wrap here? Because this to me is so relevant. And for those of you that have kids, like, we're still, I love that we're having this conversation. My daughter is 12 and a half, so we still have some time. But now that this is in my head, there's no way I'm going to forget about it. So it's like, even though this is years off, this is so relevant to us. And I feel like to the vast majority of those listening, they have kids.
Yeah, I would say start early when you get the test results, not the SAT, the EPT, the pregnancy test, because what you want to think about is if we're going to move money or reposition assets to make you qualify for more money, we've got to have enough time for that to show up on the tax return.
Yeah.
So we need a year or two. So ideal time to start our version of the process, right? Should you start saving from day one? Yes. We can talk about what types of accounts that should go into that the lifestyle investor would agree with. But we want them sophomore or junior year of high school. So we've got enough time to move stuff around. Senior year, we can't do as much because it won't show in a tax return until they're already a freshman in college.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I just think this is so valuable. I love this business. I love what you're doing for people. I love that you've been able to use it inside your own family. What a cool business and skill, and just a whole world I didn't even know existed.
I didn't either.
That is great. So where can people learn more about you?
Yes. Okay. So you either go to howtofindmoneyforcollege.com/training to register for the training, and then that will walk you through the whole process. Or we're going to ask that you watch it before you talk to us anyway, so you know what we're talking about. But our email is my email is seth@howtofindmoneyforcollege.com, and just make sure to mention that you came from the Lifestyle Investor.
Awesome. And how do they get access to that video? What was that website again?
howtofindmoneyforcollege.com/training.
Love it. This is so awesome. Any last thoughts you have for our audience?
I think you did a great job asking awesome questions.
Well, Seth, I appreciate that. And I like ending every episode that we do with a question for our audience. So if you're watching this, if you're listening to this, my question for you is the same every week. But what is one step you can take today to move towards financial freedom and really just move towards living a life that you truly desire on your terms? So again, it's not a life by default like most people live, but a life by design. And I just challenge you to take one step here. If you got kids that are about to go to school, take the step. I know Seth. This guy has the ability to save you and your family some money, your kids some money. This is an easy way towards more financial freedom because the money that you save, I do these examples when I give a keynote where I talk about most people don't do any tax strategy. They just kind of do what their CPA says, and they leave all this money on the table. They basically tip the government. And if you just take those dollars and you can legally find ways to creatively pay less in taxes, all by the book, well, those dollars can go into investments that compound and can create millions. And by the way, it's the same with this. It's the same where if you save these dollars on tuition, now you can put this money to work. You have more money to be able to compound in investments and grow. So I love what you're up to. Thanks so much, and we'll catch you all next week.